Hello and welcome to Unspoken. Unspoken. I just love it when I think about it. When you've been in the business that I'm in for as long as I've been in it, for 25, almost 26 years, dealing with issues that surrounding the mother and daughter relationship, you do begin to feel that you're an expert. How long is long? How long does it take to be an expert? I just feel like I have encountered so many situations, so many mothers and daughters over the years. Can you imagine? Not only the ones that you reach on the internet, which gives you that around the world effect, but the ones that I've met at conferences, on the phone, workshops, one on one counseling. I think the most impact that I get are the ones that come and sit on the couch and they are both in front of me and I can feel the energy from them and I know that they're hurting and they don't know how or why or when it happened, those type of things. Well, today we have an interesting question or statement that I want to address. And I think it's going to hit as many daughters out there that's listening. Yeah, you heard me right when I said daughters. Usually I'm coming from the mother perspective, but we have to realize we were first daughters. And from daughters, we grow into young ladies and then a woman, and then we become a mother if God so choose us to be a mother. So I want to come today and just bring that thought that was brought to me. And as I was reading it, it really took me back, and it's so broad that I think every daughter, and when I say daughter, and I keep in mind, every woman is a daughter. Every woman has a mother daughter relationship. A lot of times, women would say to me, Dr. Fletcher, I would love to be a part of your mother and daughter organization, but I don't have a daughter. And I look at them and I said, but you are a daughter. And you have a mother daughter relationship. Whether your mother is here or she's transcended back to God, you are a daughter first. And then you become a mother. So there's no escaping saying I can't be a part of the mother and daughter organization or that's not about me. If you are a woman, it is about you. Because even if you don't birth a child, you're going to affect a child somewhere during your course of life. Either you're teaching, or you're just watching the kids on the street play, or you help a child that may have climbing on the shelf at a grocery store, trying to pick something up. And all of a sudden you see the child is in danger. That instinct just go and you want to grab them. Oh, come here, baby. We have that in us. Whether you birth a child or not, you have that nurturing spirit that's called divine love. So, as we talk today, I don't want you to separate your mind. I want you to engage into this conversation. I want you to understand that we can be a mother to others. God put it so nicely when he was in Titus 2, and he said, the older women that we should raise up and teach the younger girls. And you do find that if you can remember, especially during my time coming up as a child, there were certain women that we just go sit at their feet. I had that auntie and that grandmother, and but I had those neighbors, I had those women, that we would go sit at their feet, and they would tell us things. And I'll never forget Miss Ernestine. Miss Ernestine didn't have any children. But yet, all the women basically in our neighborhood would have Miss Ernestine do, at the time, we just call it going over to Miss Ernestine's house. But Miss Ernestine would bring us there and she'd fix us some Kool-Aid or something to drink and fix us something to eat. And we sit in a circle. And that, when I look back at it now, I can understand. I understood it, but I could see what she was doing better because we know about the circle of love. We know about the village raising a child. But when you're small and you don't realize it, you just know we're going to Miss Ernestine's house. And Miss Ernestine would tell us, okay, now I want y'all to come over on Saturday and we're going to talk. And they would allow Miss Ernestine to teach us about things that I felt my mother didn't feel comfortable to teach me about, or maybe their mothers. But Miss Ernestine was the one who was like, no, I'm going to tell them. They call it the birds and the bees and all kind of little cute names. But she would sit down and she would break down life to us. And she would tell us things we should do and should not do as we sat, ate, and sit on the floor in a round circle. And she did that quite often. And I remember saying to my mother, why did you have Miss Ernestine telling me certain things when I think you should be telling me? She said, well, because she just, wanted to talk to you, like you girls, and that was just her thing. And I guess that was her way of giving back. I get it better now, but I thought that was my mother's role. My mother, certain subject matters, I could tell she wasn't comfortable talking about. And we could talk and laugh about anything, but if I got real deep with her and start going, she asked her a question, and then I go deep, 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 and everybody says you should have been an attorney, because I would never just accept that answer if it wasn't the answer that really gave me the satisfaction that I thought I should have. Then I would just keep digging, and my mother would get frustrated. She just, because she didn't know how to really tell me, but I knew there was more to it. So if you're one of those mothers and you have those children that's challenging you, we're going to talk about that today. Because you're going to have to realize you are the one that they're looking to. You are the one that they're expecting to give them the answers. And as hard as it may be, you got to figure out a way. That's what we're here for. Unspoken, the things that you can't say, that you should say. Join our matriarch in our community. Come with us and find out the groups that we're having, the meetings that we're having, so that you could be a part of those webinars that is coming up. Just get in there. Don't think that, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not a mother like Dr. B, or I'm not a mother like Dr. O or Dr. Beth. We all different mothers. We all different people. And none of us are perfect. We all trying to figure it out every day. We're working on this. So don't beat yourself up thinking that you have to be a certain model in order to participate. No, we are greater together, because what I know I can share with you, and what you know you can share with me. Even though I'm here, I am the instructor, or I call myself the student. I feel like this is my lessons that God is teaching me, and you all are here basically listening how He's teaching me. So I'm not the expert of all experts. That's why I started out with, how long does it take to be an expert? Do we call ourselves experts? And why we call ourselves experts? We are experts to a certain limit, but there's growth every day. Every day. Today is not the day I had yesterday. I can't live off the energy I operated on yesterday. Every day, God give us new grace. Every day we come with a new experience. So we're going to talk about the mother, the daughter, and how the daughter rise up to become a mother. I'll be right back.
As is the mother, so is her daughter. A strong mother and daughter relationship has a powerful impact on the family and the community. It is one of the most robust bonds there is, and yet it is also one of the most delicate. This is a relationship that must be given the utmost care. Mother and Daughter Bonding Network believes there is no substitute for a healthy bond of love between a mother and her daughter. It is our mission to develop this strong bond of love and remove the elements that weaken the mother and daughter relationship. Through support and counseling, we provide education, resources, and spiritual wisdom to mother and daughter communities on the premise of love and in the mindset that an educated mother is a highly effective role model and an inspiration for her daughter to complete her education. Mother and Daughter Bonding Network provides a safe and supportive place where mothers and daughters can forgive, reconnect, revive, and strengthen their bond through a process of continuous healing. We engage the mothers and daughters to bravely face and resolve the ups and downs in their relationships. We connect and empower mothers and daughters so that the process of transforming conflicted or troubled relationships into positive and healthy ones goes across generations and creates better and sustainable communities. Connect with us today at our website www.matriarchnow.com and change the mother-daughter relationship for the better for today, tomorrow, and all days to come.
Yes, matriarch now. Join us. Doesn't cost you one penny. How many times somebody say, just join our organization, doesn't cost you anything. And there's benefits for becoming a member. You get to participate. You get to use all of the instruments that we have, the television show that's on Roku and some of the other media platforms. You get to be on Unspoken. You get to write in the Mother Daughter Bonding magazine. You get to do whatever you need to do in this community. You get to teach what God has placed on your heart. Now, who's going to give you all of that but God? And it's not going to cost you a penny. God is doing it for you. You get to go to school. God has made it so that we can take your old credits and give you a new beginning, helping you to start where you stop. There is donations for that because we have to pay instructors, especially when we talk about that master's program and that PhD program. Come on, you know how valuable that is. But I'm telling you, it will change your life. If you're a woman out there and you're feeling like I never did finish my college degree, or if you have a degree that you don't feel comfortable with, you don't feel good in your spirit about it. You're saying you have it, but you know deep down inside you really, really don't. God said what? You got to you got to work to prove yourself worthy. So, yes, take the classes, study the word, come out with your college degree. Not that a college degree is going to make or break you with your relationship with God. It's just all in your consciousness. How do you feel about yourself? If you feel good about where you are, then that's fine. But there's so many women write us and say, I want to finish my college degree. I didn't get to finish. And it's always been something on the back of my mind. We have a young lady in our um, master's program now. She graduated in August with her undergrad. She says, I'm going to get my master's, I'm going to get my PhD. And she's in her late 70s and knocking it out of the ballpark. So come on, man. Don't sit back there and wait 20, 30 more years. And because what happens if you don't complete what you feel you should have, it interferes with your decision making. It interferes with your relationship with your daughter and your children, your husband, your boyfriend. It interferes because you can pretend all day long, but you can't fool your heart. You can't lie to yourself. And that guilt of not completing something, and I find that to be a lot in education. We can be jealous of our daughters if they get the education. We can be jealous of our daughters if now they're lawyers and doctors and Indian chief. Yeah, we'll tell everybody, my daughter's this and my daughter's that. And I'm so proud of her. But are you proud of yourself? You can't give what you don't have. I'm not going to preach to you on that today, but I just had to say that because the spirit came up in my mind. Somebody's listening, they want to go. We got so many women in the last 2 or 3 weeks, just coming and signing up. that's in their 70s. Come on, in their 70s. I want to finish my degree. So if you're in your 30s and 40s and you sit back there talking about, I want to finish, you want to wait 40 more years? Take a page out of that book. I'm not going to leave here without doing what I said I'm going to do. Their children are grown, educated, doing well. But I didn't finish what I started. And because I didn't ask her to say her name, I won't. And I know she don't mind, but I won't do it. But she'll be glad. She said, Dr. Fletcher, I'll be glad to talk to anybody to let them know how it feels to graduate in your late 70s and going for your master's and heading for your PhD. All right, there you go. Now, let's talk about our subject matter for today. We are going to unveil a topic, and the topic is hurting daughters become hurting mothers. That's what I said. Hurting daughters become hurting mothers. A lot of times we'll say hurting mothers hurt their children, but I want to bring it back from the beginning. Keep in mind, I said before the break, we have a mother, but we came here as a daughter. Each woman into this earth as a daughter from another daughter who grew up to become a mother. Follow me now. So you growing up, and you just think, I want each person that's listening, whether it's presently, later, 10 years, 100 years from now, it's not going to change. Because in Ezekiel 16:44, God already spoke the word. He said, my word will not return to me void. Meaning that Ezekiel 16:44 is saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. It was there before you and I got here. It will be there when you and I are gone. It's up to you where you are now to identify and make the adjustments. I can't do it for you. I'm working every day to make the adjustments for myself. We are sharing information. This is how we get to the next level. We share information. And so today we are talking about a young girl. Let's just imagine a baby's born. And I like to take it back to conception. When the mother becomes pregnant, I'll say the young girl, the daughter, becomes pregnant. What condition was she in? What was her mental capacity? What was her physical capacity? What was her living environment? Who was in her circle of influence? Who set the tone for her temperament? See, when the baby is conceived, then that's where the journey begins. And when I'm talking to mothers, I always ask them, how was your 9 months? How was your 9 months? When they, oh, my daughter's doing this, and I don't know what's wrong with that girl. And, I just throw my hands up, Dr. Fletcher. I just throw my hands up. How in the world are you going to say you're going to throw your hands up? Come on now. Throw your hands up for what? That's your child. I'm going to throw my hands up. I'm through with that girl. Really? That says a lot about you. Ask yourself, what type of mother am I? Just answer that question for yourself. How am I mothering my children? And then you know what you need to adjust. And sometimes it's so deep that it really takes these groups and these counselings and these sessions and someone that you can confide in that has the knowledge to help you just answer some quick questions. You don't have to go to counseling for a year. Just some quick questions to identify. Once you identify it, you can deal with it. But if you don't know, you can't correct it. That's all I do in my Christian clinical sessions. It's help you identify. And when you get the realization of what it is, you go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was affecting me. It's just like unforgiveness. If you don't forgive, it's going to be hard for you to move on and pretend. It's something we have to do because the Bible said so. God said so. If you don't forgive your brother, then I'm not going to forgive you. God ain't playing with you. He's serious. So you better find some forgiveness. I don't care if you can't reach the person. You just get on your knees and forgive them. That's all I do. I forgive people, talk to God, and I forgive myself, and I move on. That's all he wants you to do. It's acknowledge that you realize that you need to ask for forgiveness in that area. Because you can't change your mother. You can't change the people that violated you. You can't change those things. You've got to figure out a way to forgive them, forgive yourself, and ask God to help you to move on. Because hurting daughters become hurting mothers. And then the journey keeps going. It's like being on a train. You stop at one depot, at train depot, and you just, you unload, and when you get off, if you got the same baggage you had when you got on, you're gonna get the same baggage you will have when you get off, and you're gonna take that baggage with you wherever you go. You're gonna unpack that baggage. When you get ready to go back someplace else, you're gonna put that same stuff back in that bag, and you get back on the next plane or bus, and you go into the next journey with the same stuff. You gotta realize I've got to unpack some of this stuff. And then you're picking up additional stuff to put in your bag as you leave from one destination to another. You're just gathering stuff. You got to unload. It gets heavy. And the older you get, the more wrinkles you have, the more tired you get. You don't even have time for your grandkids. You try to make it up with your grandkids. The kids will tell you, you treat the grandkids better than you treat me. You thinking, well, I'm getting old. I don't want to die. I'm trying to make up. Bill Cosby said it one time, and I thought, that's pretty good, Bill. Bill said, grandparents treat the grandkids better than they did the kids because what? They trying to get to heaven. They want God to forgive them. So I'm going to do better with this generation. But you can't skip the generation prior to. You got to go back and straighten out the mess you have with your children. And the question and statement came with this: why do I feel separated from my children? Why is there a separation between me and my children? Why can't I get along with my children? Did you get along with your mother? Think of the things that happen in your life. I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write yourself a letter. Start at about 8 years old. What were you doing then? What happened up to that point and what happened after that? You may say, Dr. Fletcher, this seems like work. Well, yes, it is. You're not willing to invest in yourself, but you can go sit on somebody's job and work all day and all night to make their stuff better, to build them a better company, to create something for someone else. You can write a book and pass it out into the world. Well, write your book. Write who you are. Why can't you invest in yourself? Because the better you is the better everybody else around you. So what kind of mother are you? You have to ask yourself, where do I need to improve? Why am I the type of mother that I am? And it's okay. You may cry some. You may get angry. You need to get in a closet and close the door. That's okay. Because hurting people hurt people. And they don't know they're hurting people. They just being who they were taught. And so when the question came to me today, I was like, that is so broad. Brokenness And sometimes we can't fix it by ourselves. And that's where we come in at. And I'm gonna bring in Dr. O with me, and then we're gonna go deeper into this conversation.
Did you know that those college credits you earn can still work for you? If you started your degree but never finished, don't let those credits go to waste. At Mother and Daughter Bible University, you can turn your hard work into a completed degree. Whether you're aiming for an associate, bachelor's, master's, or even a PhD, we make it easy to transfer your credits and fast track your education. Imagine celebrating your graduation, knowing you've achieved your dreams while balancing work and life. Don't wait any longer. Take the first step towards your future today. Visit our website and start your journey now.
Right, let's bring in Dr. O. Hello, Dr. O, how are you doing?
I am hunky dory. How are you? How are
I'm
you? What are
good.
you?
I'm
I'm
good.
good. I'm good. I ain't making no noise over here. As I always say, I'm determined to be good. It comes with the determination.
And you know, I'm not adding anything to that. We talked
I
about
know.
that last week.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh wow,
But
yes,
most
it's
people
good
probably
to
don't
be
even know what
on.
that means. But anyhow, who?
Yeah,
You doing okay today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
Good
great. We
job.
went out
Good
of
job.
town and um, had to celebrate a family member going home, and it was absolutely amazing. Um, Going home party. I say party celebration. It was absolutely amazing, and so I just send love out to the family, and knowing that God has got them. You know,
Amen. And
I,
the keys
I
are
was,
being
and I
activated.
learned a lot yesterday too from that message from the bishop. It's just, you know, no matter where we are, we still in a position to learn, and it just hit me, and that's why when I saw this particular topic, it just, I was like, okay, God, it's in the same vein.
Yeah.
Whew. So we're talking about, and I know some of your thoughts on this because we've had this topic sometimes throughout our lives, and we're talking about brokenness. We're talking about a mother, a daughter growing up hurting without any counseling, without anybody guiding her, without anybody giving her what she needs, and she ends up pregnant as a young girl, and she doesn't know what to do. She's just moving around in the darkness trying to raise a child. What are your takes on that?
Well, first things first, you said it, you already said it, so I'll just reiterate it. It comes by all of that trying to do something that you don't know how to do because it wasn't demonstrated in your life. It becomes a challenge. And again, that's that complex trauma we've been talking about since the start of this particular series. Um, if someone, a mother or daughter, do not acknowledge the pain, they cannot even begin to practice empathy. That's number one.
Yes.
They're hard on themselves, they're hard on the person that they're blaming for their brokenness, and it just becomes a lifetime of pain when we're not willing to go back and get the pieces. I use this analogy when I work with women in treatment and in prison. Um, you're walking around, and I, as the instructor, I will go to the store and I will buy a puzzle, and you don't know that I've taken out pieces intentionally, and I'll give you that box, and I'll sit there and tell you to put the puzzle together, and I'll see you sit there in frustration trying to put it together because you don't know pieces is missing. And so, with that being said, you got to go back and get the pieces. And if
Mhm.
you don't go back and get the answers, which is the pieces, then you will continue to sit there in frustration or go through life in frustration because you don't even have a clue what the real story is. You've heard some stories about your mother-daughter relationship. You heard some stories about your mother, how she abandoned you, which was my case. And when I finally went and got the answer, and most of the audience know that you were the facilitator of me going back and getting the answers. Um, I obviously subconsciously I had come to believe those stories because I was angry with my mother. But here's the thing, I didn't know I was angry with my mother because at age 13, I remember hearing myself saying, I'm going to prove to them that I don't need them. And even that was a lie because God knew you needed them. That's why he gave them to you. But that was my way of coping with not having them in my life. It's easier. It's not easy to facilitate or go through life when you want something and it's not available to you. And so the pain becomes even deeper at that. And so you got to be willing to have the conversation as you so pointedly told me. You got to go back and get the answers. And so you got mothers, you got to be willing, daughters, you got to be willing to have that open conversation without making assumptions and continue to stand on those assumptions because that's what you've been told. And number three, we got to stop blaming each other. You can't blame and find forgiveness at the same time
That's true.
because you're never going to allow it as long as you're blaming the person for your brokenness. Then you got to allow yourself to feel the hurt to avoid reacting in anger. Because anytime you hear your mother's name or your daughter's name and that negative emotion is coming up in you, you have not forgiven them. Well, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. Well, you haven't forgiven her if you saying you won't forget. And we have that is big because I hear that all the time. I've forgiven my mother. I love her, but I'll never forget what she did or didn't do for me. Well, you haven't forgiven her, sweetheart. You think you have. You're saying your mouth is running, but you ain't saying nothing. And then you got to avoid blaming and comparing yourself. And then here's one of the greatest things, Dr. Fletcher, when people tell you you just like your mama, you get so doggone mad. People used to tell me that all the time. Now I didn't know my mother, but people used to tell me all the time, you look just like your mother, you just like your mother. And I would just get angry about that thing, not even knowing the lady. Because I in my mind and in my heart, I wanted to say I'm nothing like my mother because my mother, my perception was that my mother abandoned me and I would never abandon my children. So that's where that craziness came about. I didn't want to be like her because I thought I was better than her. You understand what I'm
I
saying?
got you. I got you. And how many times have you heard that from the young ladies that
Oh
we
my
deal with?
God. And they're doing the exact same thing to their children that their mother did to them. They're
Yeah,
abandoning them because
right.
they're in jail somewhere or in treatment and their
It's
children are
true.
growing up without them
Uh-huh.
because they're in and out of treatment. They're in and out of the system. And so they're doing doing the same thing, comparing I like to say comparing sins with sins.
Mm.
And this is why we walk around acting, if you will. And
Yeah.
then she has to acknowledge her feeling and then express her feelings. We got to be willing to do this thing openly. I like to say this: tell the truth and shame the damn devil.
Mm. All
You
right.
know, trick no good because he is a trickster and your mind will trick you. You can't trust your mind nor your heart in these situations because they're becoming hardened to the fact that you know what, you are just like your mother. As the mother, so is the daughter. And we do exactly what we say our mothers have done to us as a daughter.
Yes.
And it's no fault of your own daughters. It's no fault of your own mothers because hurting people hurt people, as you say.
Yeah.
And you can't do better if you don't know better. But you have to be willing to invest not only in the story, you got to be invest in dealing with your hurt in order that you can get past this and have a relationship with your mother and your daughter without blaming each other.
Yeah.
And when I went to my mother, let me just tell you something. That one conversation started a whole new perception in my mind
Hmm.
about my mother. I knew going there that day after leaving there, I might have been absent from my mother in the physical sense, but I was never absent from her heart. Because when I went there, my mother had 9 stuffed animals on the bed, and each of those animals had the name of her children, and my name was on there. So I know I was never separated from my mother. even though I wasn't in her and growing, I didn't grow up with her. I was still in her heart and she still loved me. And that day was the beginning of a new. Thanks for letting
Amen.
me share.
All right, all right. That's good stuff. As you were talking, um, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, what was it about you, Bessie? See, we can only tell our own story. And so when I look back at it, I used to say, I'm not going to be like my mother. I'm not going to be like mother. I mean, I was little because I was judging her when I was little, and I was like, I'm not going to even have any children. I had, because
Mm,
I felt like I got a spanking, like, it seemed like I got a spanking every day. My mother's here today, and I've said this to her after I was an adult. I said, I used to get a spanking every day. Mother said, that is not true. That is, why would you say that? I said, because I'd get a spanking. And mother said, why would you? In my mind, I perceive it because it seemed like I was getting spankings all the time. But
right.
now when I look back at it, I was getting exactly what I deserved, a spanking, because I was out of order. I felt like because I was an old soul and because I'm an only child, I was always around adults. So I was
Mm,
talking adult talk. All my
mm,
mother's sisters, I was the only granddaughter at my age and all those boys in between. And so it was like, that's all I heard. So I grew up talking like a grown person. And so when someone would say something as an adult, I would correct them. And my mother would say to me, excuse me? Did you just correct an adult? And I would say, but mother, that's not what she said the last time. The last time, I said, she told a story. I knew not to say lie. I said, she told a story. And so I was just telling her, that's not what you said. You know how children can do. My
yeah.
mother said, you just wait till I get you home.
Mm.
Oh, Lord. It was a long ride home because I knew I was going to get a spanking.
So,
So,
so
excuse me.
that's what this is what she was doing. She was setting
No,
boundaries
excuse me
to
one
protect
second.
you.
Let me finish this, please. And then I'm
Okay.
going to jump in. Um, So I'm riding in the car and I'm getting all, nervous and frustrated. And in my mind, I'm saying, oh my God, I will never be like her. I will never treat my
Mm,
children like that. That's why I'm not gonna have any children. So I got this intro conversation going on in the back of my head, and I'm building up why I don't like my mother. Now, me and mother, I mean, I'm an only child, and daddy. I mean, where am I going? But I wanted people to do what I wanted them to do. What I wanted to do. I had a willing a victim with my daddy. My daddy was my willing victim. If I wanted it, daddy would defend it. If I told daddy about mother, daddy would talk to mother to say, well, give her a break. She did, she's this. And I would just wait till daddy came around because I
mm,
knew he was going to defend me. But when I look back at it now, mothers out there, let me tell you, God said it. He said, spare the rod and you spare the child. My
mm,
mother didn't spare the rod. But I came up and I said, I'm going to do it differently. This is how we can change as mothers. I know this may seem like you may say, well, Dr. Bessie, that's nothing compared to me. I was molested, I was beaten, and I was bruised. It's all about perception, it's all about what it means to the person. Coming through that, I decided I didn't want to have any children. So I'm talking about me and my growing up trying to change not what God said, as is the mother, so is the daughter. We are trying to change that. And how do we change that? We can't do it without God. He's the only one that can help us do it. So I did get pregnant. I did have a daughter, and I thank God this day for my daughter. I can't even imagine not having my daughter. But had I not, if God hadn't taken over, I would have never had a child. He may not have given me this assignment, as is the mother, so is the daughter. I don't know. But I know one thing that I really learned was being bossy, being controlling. I was raised by a woman that the whole family, my mother, she helped everybody. But they needed something. They came to her. They had to have her opinion. Pearl, what do you think? Go to Aunt Pearl and ask Aunt Pearl. She had that power. And not that she used it, she was always digging in her chest, pulling out money. She was a bank. She was just always there, burying people. She had that, and I saw that strong daddy, followed whatever mother said. The mother said it, this is that. Pete, I need you to do this. And that, and this is like she was like a drill sergeant, but in a softer way. But I got that. And I remember after my first divorce, and I thought about it, a little bit. Bessie, you could have done better. Maybe you should have done this or done that. But after my second divorce, that's what I said. You know what? It wasn't all of them. It was a lot about me because I was raised to control. And when you raised and you trying to control your husband, you trying to control another person, it makes a miserable life. So when my daughter and her husband was going through a challenge, I stopped everything I was doing. I came from Florida and I stayed in that house about 3 or 4 weeks. I anointed that house and I talked to that enemy in there. I said, no, this is not going to happen. But I talked to my daughter and I said to her, let me tell you my mistakes because you have a good husband. Let me tell you my mistakes. And my mistakes came from your grandmother, and your grandmother raised you like every summer she spent with her grandmother from the time school was out and every holiday. Why am I saying this? Because she got that influence. She got that injection of that power, that control. And I said, we have got to cut this demon off. We have got to allow the man to be the husband. You're going to miss a good husband if you don't back up and let him be a husband. And that's the mistake I made, being bossy. And women, you're out there, you're thinking, no, you can't do this. And I was talking to someone not too long ago, and it was like, what we do. We come in, the house, and if the chair and decoration is a certain way, and you come home and the husband decides, I want to turn this chair this way. I think it's going to look better this way because, it's comfortable for me. Who moved that chair? Who told you to move the chair? And like, but you're not paying the bills by yourself. Why can't he move the chair? You see, those are the manipulative things that we do. And then we end up divorced and we end up in arguments because what? We're trying to control the other person. My daughter took that advice, thank God. She backed up and I showed her. I said, yeah, mother was good and that was her life and that was her time. But I came to tell you, you have a good husband. And if you can adjust yourself to meet him, then you're going to see. Let him be. It wasn't a couple of months later, her car stopped. And she said, Mom, I got to get a car and da da da. I think at that time she had I think it was a Lexus. She said, I just don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna get another car. And she was just, I said, why don't you just let your husband be your husband? He didn't say one word. A couple of days later, she came home. He had a Mercedes sitting out there, went and bought it by himself, didn't need her permission. And from that day on, girlfriend's been sitting back and letting her husband be a husband. She's still bossy. I'm still bossy, but we know how for the boss. You know where to go. So why am I saying all of this? Is that there's certain things we have to go back and examine. If I could change this, it will make it better for my children. It will make it better for even if you're not living with the children's father. You got to make some kind of adjustments so that you won't have to have these fights and disagreements. You, the mother, have to set the tone. Okay, Dr. O.
And so what I heard was that you determined to not only set boundaries for your relationship, and your mother was trying to set boundaries to protect you for the future. Because anytime you think that you know more than the average bear, and unfortunately that when God give you certain intellects, we do think that. And
Yeah,
so if we don't have boundaries, then we don't know when to not speak.
right.
And we just say whatever comes up comes out. And so what
Mhm.
I heard you say about your mother is that her discipline was about setting boundaries for you. And
Yeah.
that is necessary in any
Hmm.
relationship. You
Hmm.
got to set boundaries for
Hmm.
your children so they stay in a child's place. So
Mm-hmm.
when they know when to speak and not when not to speak, because you can't hear, like you and I, we have these conversations. You can't hear when you're trying to talk over, when you're trying to correct people all the time, because it ain't about being right and wrong. Because
Right.
the story, everybody's story shift depending on the day of the hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so to try to correct an adult when you're a child, that I could see your mother shutting you down in that sense with regards to why are you questioning an adult? It's her story. So she gets to tell it any way she wants to tell it, whenever she wants to tell it. So
Got nothing to do with you.
so that's what I
That
heard
is
when you were
so true.
sharing your story. Yeah, that's what I heard. She was really just setting the boundaries as a for you as a child.
Somebody
Stay in a
other,
child's
but
place. You're
yeah.
freezing, Dr. Fletcher. Okay, you're back. But yeah, that's what I heard when you were sharing that story. Your mother had had an agenda, and yeah, it might have been her bossing you, but it was also her trying to teach you that there's a time and place for everything, and you speak when it's appropriate, and be appropriate when you speak, and not try to change somebody else's story. And so when we don't know better, we can't do better. But it was your mother's responsibility to set those boundaries for you as a child, for you're not trying to always correct people. And life stories aren't about right and wrong, because it's their story, it's their perspective, and it's no matter when they share it, it may be from a sad perspective this day and from a victorious perspective the next day. But we are interesting as human beings, and we keep trying to get it right. Moms tried to get it right, and sometimes we just human beings messing up, and we just have to give people grace. Period.
Yeah, but and I hear all that, and I know that's what she was doing. I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
I didn't know
Right.
that at the time, but I knew that the person, I was consciously listening to people. And I mean, when you say one thing and then the next time you say it all the way different, and everybody's sitting there like, she said it differently the last time. I ain't had enough sense to know that they knew. They just wasn't saying that wasn't my business to be in grown folk business anyway. But it was about, regardless to, like you say, what it was her story, and regardless to what, they knew the friend, they knew who they was working with, and it was not my place. And so, of course, there again, once I learned that, I taught that to my daughter. And so she taught that to her children. So when we set these boundaries, they go for generation, because we'll
Yeah.
say, my mother didn't allow me to do that, and I'm not going to allow you to do it. But had my mother not corrected me and gave me some principles to live by, I could have been a whole different personality now. I could have been a whole different person, and experienced a different lifestyle. So I thank God for that. But I just want mothers to know that when we come on here, we're not condemning you. We're not trying to make you feel bad. We just want to give you something to think about, like an aha moment. You know,
Yes.
I have had a rough childhood. I have a young lady that's coming on in a few weeks, and I talked to her about her story. And she's going to talk about how God spoke to her audibly and said, "Forgive your mother."
Hmm.
Because you can't go forward. I had to do some of that myself. I'm doing this forgiveness thing for the last maybe 4 or 5 months. I'm just going back and seeing, what areas do I need to look at? What things have I done that I need? Because if God's not going to forgive me, and I got to forgive, I'm just checking off some stuff and going to God and saying, God forgive me. Some people dead and gone or whatever. And it may not be major things, but forgiveness is forgiveness. And I realized, I said, you know what? I have got to forgive my mother, because I was asking my mother things about my biological daddy. I didn't get the answers that I wanted from her. And I said, don't leave here without answering some of these questions, because I'm not going to forgive you if you do. See, I didn't realize words are so powerful. We say things and we don't realize how powerful they are. And then you said in a contract, and I said, I'm not going to forgive you if you do. My mother left, I was on my way home. I was about 5 hours away from her. They took her into the ER, I guess, and my auntie said to me when she called and said, "Pearl is gone." I'm like, "Gone where?" She said, "She's gone." I said, "Gone where?" Because I mean, she was fine. I talked to her that night. She said, "She passed." I'm not, no, no, that's not true. She said, "But as she was leaving, she told me to tell you that she tried to wait, but they came and she had to go." That was hard because all that time from 97 to a few months ago, I realized I told my mother that if you didn't give me all the answers before you leave, I'm going to be mad with you. I'm not going to forgive you. And God brought it to my attention. You got to forgive your mother. See, we wonder why our money is blocked. We wonder why opportunities blocked. We wonder why our blessings are not coming. Unforgiveness. You got to go back and you got to look at your life. Listen to some of the things that you've said. What did you say that you need to cancel out that contract? I had to go back and cancel that. And I talked to my mother, because I didn't really mean it. I thought I did at the time. But when you look at it, I'm like, I didn't really mean it like that. But it doesn't matter. The subconscious mind don't know what you mean and don't mean it knows what you said. And so I had to go back. And I'm telling you, I saw a shift in things in my energy, in things in that's happening in my life. I saw a shift because I simply went back and corrected that and apologized to my mother. And she's been gone since 97. So do it not for your mother, do it for you. That's what forgiveness is about. It's been an interesting conversation. I really thank you um, for being on this morning, Dr. O.
You're
And
welcome.
all we got to do is say we got work to do. We have work to do. You have
Dr.
any?
Fletcher, yes, I wanted to say because your mother set those boundaries, I'm just putting two to two together with how you are as a therapist. And because your mother set those boundaries, you became and you learned to practice active listening.
Mhm,
And that's why you are as good as you are in what you do, because you know the importance of active listening. If she had not set those boundaries, perhaps you wouldn't be the therapist that you are. People tell me all the time, I'll be a good therapist, but I won't because I know my gifts. And my gift, I don't have that active listening piece. And so if your mother had not set those boundaries for you, perhaps just think about it,
mhm,
you may not have become the therapist that you are because you know the importance of active listening.
mhm.
I just
You're
wanted
right.
to share that.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, and the Holy Spirit, because when I look back at my track record of 25 and a half years, and I say this, and it's not boasting, it's a Holy Ghost shout. I have never had a mother and daughter or daughter, anyone come before me for counseling that was not healed. It's there's healing in the physical and there's healing in the mental. I am anointed to heal the mental capacity of an individual. And I look, and it's not like, you got to keep coming. You know, it's the Holy Spirit when 2 hours with me can change your life. I mean, the Holy Spirit speak. I release myself, the Holy Spirit speak. He'll do it for you. All you got to do is be willing to do the work. And so I was chosen
Yes,
to do this
yes,
25 years. And when like I came and spoke with your group and they got it. You know what I mean?
yes,
And I was just
yes.
speaking. I spoke about an hour and a half or something like that.
Not even, not
Yeah, and
even.
it shift the whole thing because I told them in the beginning, it's not me, it's the Holy Spirit. I spoke for a national uh, organization, and all of a sudden, they wanted me to do it again. So they want me to speak Wednesday night, and these topics are coming up because what I'm teaching Mike. on Tuesday nights. And you got about 14 or 15 women in there that their life shift in that hour and a half workshop. It doesn't take long. It's just that if you're willing to open your heart, the Holy Spirit know who you are. I don't know those women. They're from all over the US. I don't even know them. And then so here we are on this in this workshop, and they're like, "Oh my God, you really hit something. God told me this." It's just going to remind you what God told you. That's all. I am that. When God speak to you and you don't get it or don't do it, He'll send somebody else to tell you. I'm that somebody that He sends, and then you get that. Oh wow, that's confirmation. How many times have you said that? That's confirmation because
Mhm.
God said, "Okay, you didn't get it like I want you to get it. So let me tell so and so, and I'm gonna send them." And you think it's just a ha. It's confirmation. No, 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 no. He wants you to know that I know now that you know. I told you, you didn't react. So I sent Dr. Bessie. She told you, and you confirmed it now. You agree when you said, wow, that's confirmation. Now, God said, now I know that you know you can't play with God. Thank you. I'll be right back. This is the mother and daughter marketplace. And we're asking you to go to Matriarch now. Go to the marketplace and look at our beautiful marketing products. Make a donation, get a product. I think that's it for us today, Dr. O. We came,
Sounds like a
we done,
winner.
and now we're going to leave.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get some rest. I've been traveling for the last 2 weeks now. It's time to rest.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much. And audience,
You're
we
very
thank you
welcome.
for being with us. It has been a pleasure just for you to listen. I met some people yesterday and at the homegoing, and they said to me, "I just want you to know I'm an avid listener." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, I listen to you every Saturday morning." So I want to say to you and all of the people that said that to me yesterday, thank you. I never know who's listening. I don't plan to say, well, we got 10 people on 5 people. I don't go back and look at the comments and stuff like that. I guess I should. My daughter says, but I just do what I do. And God said, more people are listening to you than you know. So thank you for taking time out to listen, pass it on, share it with some friends that you know that need to hear the word of God. And let's do what God says. Forgive,
Amen.
love, and seek Him. Talk to you later.
And professional help. Thank you.
And have
Gotta throw that in there because when you don't know, you don't know. You gotta get you
so
gotta know.
what you tell them to give me a call, right?
Duh, yeah. Because when you don't know, you don't know. You can't correct something you don't understand. So yes, in all you're getting, get understanding.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes. So
I had to throw that in there.
all you got to do, is go on to matriarchnow.com and go to
Yes,
contact, send me a message, send me your phone number, and I will call you.
yes,
Trust me. Tell them said that I will call you.
yes. She will call you.
All right, have a good. I'm not
Bye
one of those
bye.
kind of people tell you to send it and I don't call you. I will
Oh
call
no,
you.
she will call you.
Oh yeah. All
All
right,
right,
have
love
a
you.
good one.
Bye bye,
Yeah, have a good.
audience.
See you next week.